Geocentrism debunked, using the Bible. Part 2 of 2. Slide 1, Intro. Rumored Myths, Part 2. Batman Fan Forever 08. AKA Jeremy. If you haven't watched Part 1 of 2, I suggest you watch it now. It's linked in the description. Slide 21. This is a poetic way of praising the Lord, and the word world in verse 10 is not referring to the planet, but the people that inhabit said planet. If you look up the definition of the word world, you'll find out that that word does not necessarily have to refer to the physical planet itself, but can also refer to the people that inhabit said planet. Slide 21b. World. Noun. Noun, world, noun, the world. 1. The earth, together with all of its countries, peoples, and natural features. He was doing his bit to save the world. Synonyms: earth, globe, planet, sphere. He traveled the world. All of the people, societies, and institutions on the earth. World affairs. Synonyms: everyone, everybody, people, mankind, humankind, humanity, the general public, the population, the populace, all and sundry, every Tom, Dick, and Harry. She would show the world that she was strong. Denoting one of the most important or influential people or things of its class. Modifier noun, world. They had been brought up to regard France as a world power. Another planet like the Earth. Plural noun, worlds. The possibility of life on other worlds. Synonyms: planet, moon, star, heavenly body, orb. Life on other worlds. The material universe or all that exists, everything. 2. A part or aspect of human life or of the natural features of the earth, in particular. A region or group of countries. The English-speaking world. A period of history. The ancient world. A group of living things. The animal world. The people, places, and activities to do with a particular thing. They were a legend in the world of British theatre. Synonyms: sphere, society, circle, arena, milieu, province, domain, orbit, preserve, realm, field, discipline, area, sector. The academic world. Human and social interaction. He has almost completely withdrawn from the world. Synonyms: society, material things, secular interests, temporal concerns, earthly concerns. She renounced the world. Average, respectable, or fashionable people or their customs or opinions. A person's life and activities. Noun, one's world, plural noun, one's worlds. He felt his whole world had collapsed. Everything that exists outside oneself. A stage of human life, either mortal or after death. In this world and the next. Secular interests and affairs. Parents are not viewed as the primary educators of their own children, either in the world or in the church. Slide 22. The winds are your messengers, flames of fire are your servants. You placed the world on its foundation so it would never be moved. You clothed the earth with floods of water, water that covered even the mountains. Psalm 104, verses 4-6. Slide 23. This is from the creation psalm, so it's talking about how things were in the beginning of creation, not how they are now. It's describing the conditions of the earth when it was created, not how it is now. You placed the world on its foundation so it would never be moved. Verse 5, refers to how Earth was placed and arranged in the solar system, so that it cannot leave. It was written poetic-like, not literal. The foundation is gravity, not a physical foundation. Slide 24. Give to the Lord the glory he deserves. Bring your offering and come into his presence. Worship the Lord in all his holy splendor. Let all the earth tremble before him. The world stands firm and cannot be shaken. Let the heavens be glad, let the earth rejoice. Tell all the nations, the Lord reigns. 1 Chronicles 16, verses 29 to 31. Slide 25. This is a poetic way of praising the Lord, and the word world in verse 30 is not referring to the planet, but the people that inhabit said planet. If you look up the definition of the word world, you'll find out that that word does not necessarily have to refer to the physical planet itself, but can also refer to the people that inhabit said planet. Slide 26. Look at the image on the screen now. Slide 27. Now that we have gone through the trouble of explaining the common verses used by geocentrists to support their stupidity, we will now cover some of the less common verses. Okay. I will explain why I prefer to refer to the Genesis 1 days as eras in a later video that I am planning on making, but just be aware of that for now. Okay. Slide 28. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Then God said, "Let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. Let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth." And that is what happened. God made two great lights, the larger one to govern the day, and the smaller one to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the sky to light the earth, to govern the day and night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. Genesis 1, verse 1, verses 14 to 18. Slide 29. In verse 1 heavens is recorded first, so they were first and the earth was created second. The heavens obviously included the sun and the stars, so since the heavens were created first, then the sun was obviously created before the earth. In verses 14 to 18 it never said that God created the sun, the moon, and the stars on era 4 of creation, just that they would be used for their purposes. If we assume that the atmosphere of the earth was translucent prior to this and that all God did here was make the atmosphere transparent, then what is recorded in these verses makes sense. Again, the simplest explanation is usually the correct answer. Also, this is what I meant by everything in these verses is recorded in the past tense. Therefore era 4 of creation is as though God is just patting himself on the back for the work he did in the prior eras. Slide 30. Now we will explain some of the stories that geocentrists like to use from the Bible to support their side and how these stories don't help them. I will show how these stories actually help my side more than theirs. Slide 31. On the day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand still over Gibeon, and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky, and it did not set as on a normal day. Joshua 10, verses 12 to 13. To explain these verses we will back up a few verses to verse 1 of the same chapter and read all the way up to verse 15 of the same chapter in Joshua. Slide 31a. Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured and completely destroyed Ai and killed its king, just as he had destroyed the town of Jericho and killed its king. He also learned that the Gibeonites had made peace with Israel and were now their allies. He and his people became very afraid when they heard all this, because Gibeon was a large town, as large as the royal cities and larger than Ai. And the Gibeonite men were strong warriors. So King Adonizedek of Jerusalem sent messengers to several other kings, Hoham of Hebron, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhiah of Lachish, and Debir of Eglon. "Come and help me destroy Gibeon," he urged them, "for they have made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel." So these 5 Amorite kings combined their armies for a united attack. They moved all their troops into place and attacked Gibeon. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua at his camp in Gilgal. "Don't abandon your servants now," they pleaded. "Come at once. Save us. Help us. For all the Amorite kings who live in the hill country have joined forces to attack us. So Joshua and his entire army, including his best warriors, left Gilgal and set out for Gibeon. Do not be afraid of them, the Lord said to Joshua, for I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. The Lord threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered great numbers of them at Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road to Beth-horon, killing them all along the way to Azekah and Makkedah. As the Amorites retreated down the road from Beth-horon, the Lord destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with sword. On the day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand still over Gibeon, and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. Is this event not recorded in the book of Jashar? The sun stayed in the middle of the sky, and it did not set as on a normal day. There has never been a day like this one before or since, when the Lord answered such a prayer. Surely the Lord fought for Israel that day. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. Joshua 10, verses 1 to 15. Slide 32. So in verse 11 a hailstorm is recorded. Now it is not too uncommon for storm clouds to linger after a storm has ended. So if the storm clouds lingered all throughout the battle and up through the end of verse 15, then what is in verses 12 to 13 are easily explainable. The storm clouds were blocking out the sun, moon, and possibly the stars if the battle lasted into the nighttime. We are not told if it was daytime all throughout or if it was nighttime all throughout, or if it lasted into the nighttime, just that the day felt longer than usual. So if the storm clouds were making the skies opaque over Joshua and all the Israelites' battlefields, then the sun and moon might as well have been standing still. So since no one could locate the sun and moon, then they might as well have been standing still. The opaque skies is what made it feel like the day was continuing for the entire length of the battle. It's not like they had any other way of telling when the day ended other than the positions of the sun and moon in the skies, like we do today. The book is written by Joshua, so his viewpoint is the only one we have here. Humans will sometimes make ridiculous prayers and then when God answers he will answer them in much more reasonable manners. It's not that making the sun and moon stand still would be out of God's reach, it's that this is much easier to do than that. So this is how God would have answered the ridiculous prayer that Joshua had made. Slide 33. Isaiah replied, "This is the sign from the Lord to prove that he will do as he promised. Would you like the shadow on the sundial to go forward 10 steps or backward 10 steps?" "The shadow always moves forward," Hezekiah replied, "so that would be easy. Make it go 10 steps backward instead." So Isaiah the prophet asked the Lord to do this, and he caused the shadow to move 10 steps backward on the sundial of Ahaz. 2 Kings 20, verses 9 to 11. Also in. "And this is the sign from the Lord to prove that he will do as he promised, I will cause the sun's shadow to move 10 steps backward on the sundial of Ahaz." So the shadow on the sundial moved backward 10 steps. Isaiah 38, verses 7 to 8. Slide 34. Luckily, to explain these verses greater context is not needed, so I will not provide any here. If you want greater than what is provided here, then go get it yourself. This is simply explained as God just used supernaturally generated light to supersede the light of the sun to perform this miracle. It is recorded by 2 different authors to greater emphasize its significance. Again, the simplest answer is usually the correct answer. Slide 34a. It is not necessary to suppose that God interfered so much with the normal course of nature as to halt and reverse the onward progression of the sun through the sky. Less spectacular and unlikely causes would have produced the effect. Under certain climatic conditions, clouds of minute ice crystals can form at a great height in the upper reaches of the air. The apparent result as seen from the Earth is the appearance of a band of light passing through the sun, and 2 additional suns, one on either side of the true sun. This effect, which is known as parhelia, or mock sun, is due to the refraction of the sun's light as it passes through the prismatic ice crystals on its way to the earth. If now a cloud, at a much lower altitude, should obscure real sun and the western mock sun over a certain district, the only light reaching that district is from the eastern mock sun, and the effect is as if the sun had receded eastwards by a certain fixed amount, always equal to 1.5 hours of our time. 2 occasions when this actually happened are on record. One was on March 27, 1703 at Metz in France, when the shadow on the sundial of the Prior of Metz was displaced by 1.5 hours. The other occasion was on March 28, 1848 over parts of Hampshire when the same effect was observed. Now this is a perfectly logical scientific explanation, and the miracle could very well have been due to this cause, except for one consideration. Hezekiah had been at great pains to put down Baal worship, the constant curse of Israel, and to restore the worship of Jehovah. The sun was the visible symbol of Baal. Such a phenomenon as is described previously would be probably interpreted by those who witnessed it as a manifestation of the power and interest of Baal. The credit for the sign, and consequently for the cure of Hezekiah's sickness, would have been given, not to the God of Israel, but to Baal. Much of Hezekiah's own good work would have been undone. For this reason it is unlikely that God would use the sun as an instrument for effecting the sign. Slide 35. Now that I have officially defeated all their arguments, this means I win. Now we're good. Goodbye. Slide 36. Look at the art on the screen now. Slide 37. Biblical cosmology. Time had a beginning. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 7, 2 Timothy 1, verse 2, Titus 1, verse 2, Jude 1, verse 25. The universe had a beginning. Genesis 1, verse 1, 2, verse 4, Isaiah 42, verse 5, 45, verse 12, verse 18, Colossians 1, verse 16, Revelation 4, verse 11. The universe was created from the invisible. Hebrews 11, verse 3. The dimensions of the universe were created. Romans 8, verses 38 to 39. The universe is expanding. Job 9, verse 8, Psalm 104, verse 2, Isaiah 40, verse 22, 42, verse 5, 44, verse 24, 45, verse 12, 48, verse 13, 51, verse 13, Jeremiah 10, verse 12, 51, verse 15, Zechariah 12, verse 1. Creation of matter and energy has ended in the universe, refutes steady-state theory. Genesis 2, verses 3 to 4. The universe is winding down and will wear out. Psalm 102, verses 25 to 27, Romans 8, verse 21. The heavens rule over the earth, refutes geocentrism. Job 38, verse 33. Slide 38. Biblical cosmology. 3 heavens. Rakia, the atmosphere. The highest heavens, where the sun, moon, and stars exist. The 3rd heaven, God's abode, outside of the universe. Slide 39. Conclusion. Biblical cosmology is amazingly accurate, and does not teach geocentrism or flat earth theology. The rumored claim that the Bible teaches the earth was a flat circular disk covered by a solid dome heavens is a myth. Slide 39b. I can't believe that people that believe in geocentrism or think the earth is flat or both still exist in AD 2018. It is mind-boggling, annoyingly stupid. How can people this stupid still exist? Well, at least, they can't honestly claim that the Bible supports them, anymore. At least atheists won't be able to honestly claim that the Bible teaches a flat earth or geocentrism or both anymore, either. At least things will finally advance a bit. Maybe we can get some progress in this world. Just maybe people will start using their God-given brains again. I mean seriously, God gave you a brain for a reason, now start using it as more than just a paperweight for once in your lives. Amen. Slide 40. More atheist myths. Go to this nice ministry's website. Credits. End of series.